Today's topic, something that keeps coming back all the time. It's been popular for a very, very long time, and it kind of never goes away. And we want to kind of dig deeper into exploring the fasting phenomena. So types of fasting, benefits, risks, effects on human body, and something I would like to even kind of throw into it, because people think fasting is not eating, but maybe fasting based on macronutrient, which I mean is fasting away from carbs, fasting away from fats, and so on and so forth. I hope nobody's crazy enough to never eat protein, so we should never even go that route. But let's open up of what the hell is fasting, just a breakdown of what it is,
Yeah.
and then types of fasting.
Yeah. So most people will be familiar with just the terminology. Fasting is abstaining from food for a given amount of time, right? The most popular thing, is intermittent fasting, 16, 8, or shorter, right? Which means that you have a window of fat that you don't eat any food, you just consume water for 16 hours. And essentially most people will try to do that by skipping breakfast and then eating for 8 hours between noon and 8 p.m. Other types of fasting, right? There's going to be 24-hour fasts. Most people on the in the modern world are probably not going to experience a 24-hour fast unless they're preparing for some kind of a medical procedure or something like that. But those are also very beneficial. And then there's longer ones, right? We're talking 48-hour and 72-hour fasts. Those are becoming a little bit more popular. We'll touch on that. There's some validity to those things of that nature. But another one that a lot of people don't do is something that I just want to call it like a middle of the day fast, right? And this actually is probably more beneficial for most modern people through some physiological stuff that we've actually talked about. And that's fasting after breakfast, right? So you're having your first meal and then you're literally fasting for 8, 9, 10 hours, whatever your day is, and then having dinner, right? So essentially in that model, you're actually fasting. Let's just say you fast for 8 hours, right? In the middle of the day, you're actually fasted twice in a 24-hour period. You're fasted while you sleep and you're fasted while you work. Now, the reason why I say that is because of certain physiological effects that happen under artificial light conditions and being indoors, which is how I've come to kind of employ this particular fast. There's also fasting that you've mentioned at the beginning, which is fasting of macronutrients, right? Like wintertime, if you live somewhere where it's winter, you're probably going to abstain from carbohydrates. You're probably going to feel better, especially if you're, I don't want to say older, but if you're somebody that you're mid-20s and older, you're probably going to be able to tell the difference when you abstain from carbohydrates if you live somewhere where there's 4 seasons and it's wintertime. Another common fasts in religion are fasts from meat, but those are very short, maybe a week at the most. That those can also be beneficial. Fasting from fats or things of that nature. That's going to be more in terms of like who I want to say was Lyle McDonald, rapid fat loss solution, where that's literally what that is. Like you're fasting from carbs and fats. You're just consuming meats, and it's a protein sparing fast. That's actually taken from a medical procedure, right? So that's actually in some medical literature where you feed up protein or get the maximum amount of protein that you're going to need for the day, and that's it. You're not going to consume any extra fats, and you're not going to consume any carbohydrates. You can sustain that for quite a while, especially if you already that by the way, that medical procedure is for obese people.
And that's almost sounds like some professional bodybuilders I have come across who have done that. I would say around 10 years ago, when they were like, they would get ridiculously huge off season and they would have to diet extremely hard just to get back in shape. More often than not, they never made really any progress through the year. But I've seen that where they literally would consume 600-700 grams of protein a day and nothing else. Couple
Yep.
leaves of greens. That's about
Yep.
it.
Yeah. So that would be considered like a modified protein sparing fast, something along those lines. And so those are the types of fasting, right? So let's get into when you fast, right, what happens, right? Like let's talk about just all food, right? We're fasting from all food. Uh, what's going to end up happening is your body is going to release certain hormones that are protective in nature. One of them being first, it's going to be catecholamines, right? So it's going to coax your body into releasing things like epinephrine, adrenaline, creating dopamine from things. It's going to essentially make you feel good. It's going to make you more alert. It's going to make your mind sharper. It is a strategy that you can use to do exactly that, right? Short term, right? That day, it's going to make your mind a little bit sharper. It's going to make your mind a little bit, especially if you're a very and I find when I say it's going to make your mind sharper, it's going to make your mind sharper on the things you're focusing on, right? Because if you're focusing on food, that's the only thing you're going to think about, right? Like that's right. Like that's the caveat. It's going to make your mind sharper and more focused on the things you're focusing on. So if your job is just, I don't know, accounting, right, it can be boring and you're not going to be focused on that. You're probably going to be focused on food. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're somebody who's focused on executing your tasks for that day really, really well, yeah, going through a midday fast or fasting of any kind is probably going to help that situation because you are focused on a certain outcome of things that are not food related. Right. So that's
And
going
I
to
was
sharpen your
looking
focus
that
on.
up to let me know if that's correct, that you literally have to feel hungry. Because some people can fast and not feel hungry, but you need to get to the point where the ghrelin starts to go up quite.
That's correct. Yes. So one of those hormones that gets upregulated is ghrelin. When ghrelin gets upregulated, that's what's going to set off the cascade. So the release of catecholamines will only happen when ghrelin is going to go up, right? So you're 100% right. You are going to have to experience some hunger. It doesn't have to be a lot, and it really does also be the effectiveness of this mind sharpening effect also depends on your one of your habits, right? Caffeine consumption being one of the main ones, right? Because a little bit of ghrelin, a little bit of catecholamine response. If you normally don't consume a lot of caffeine or a lot of stimulants, you're going to feel that right away. But if you're somebody who's used to drinking 3, 4, 5 cups of coffee, no amount of little bit of ghrelin is going, you're not going to notice that. You're just not. So that also is dependent on other factors, lifestyle related.
So it almost sounds like, hey, if you want to have the most benefit out of fasting mentally, you might have to fast from coffee a little bit just to have
Yeah, especially if you're somebody who consumes a lot of it. Like if you regularly consume 1 or 2 cups in the morning, you're probably not going to be affected. But if you're somebody who consumes caffeine regularly throughout the day, right? Like you drink 1 or 2 in the morning, then you maybe drink 1 or 2 in the middle of the day, and then maybe 1 in the afternoon. I'm like, yeah, that's more caffeine than your body's going to override from a fasting effect. And so that's, acute benefits that might happen from fasting right then, that day, those hours that you fast. The other thing that will happen, right, is growth hormone will be released. Growth hormone is there to protect systems in your body, mainly muscle tissue and other tissues that are being protected from being catabolized right then and there. If you fast for long periods of time, 72 hours and or so, more than 24, the growth hormone response is not going to be big enough naturally to override the catabolism of those particular tissues. Now, on the surface, that sounds bad, but you also have to understand that all tissues can potentially become cancerous, all tissues, right? So catabolizing some of those, even if it's muscle tissue, during maybe once or twice a year, is not necessarily a bad thing. Right now, you're not going to catabolize those that day, right? That fast, right? What you're going to do is you're going to mark them, right? So that's going. It's called ubiquination. So you do a 72-hour fast, for example, right? Then your body's going to run on fumes for that little bit. And what's going to happen is any system that's compromised is going to be marked. And then when you sleep throughout those fasting periods, more of those tissues are being turned over, right, while you sleep. It's very important to understand. It's not while you're awake. It's not while you're moving around and being active. That's not when this is happening. Fasting facilitates, just like other stresses, right, because fasting is a stress. just like other stresses, it sets up the body to be able to actively distinguish and ferret out, hey, what parts of the body need to be replaced? What parts can be used up and recycled right now? Because right now we're in a low energy state. We can focus on other things that doesn't include pulling supplies in and breaking them down and constructing other materials out of them. So it focuses on the cleanup, if you will, right? Think of it like spring cleaning, right? You've accumulated so much stuff and all kinds of things all over in your home, and you take a week or two where you literally clean things up, right? That's the best way to kind of view how fasting helps autophagy and apoptosis. And keyword there, it helps, it does not cause, right? No amount of fasting causes those. It just helps your body mark the cells to be ready to dispose of them if needed, or repair them if needed.
Yeah, it sounds like something that you always kind of not directly say, but describe that for anything to work, you'll have to stack your habits together for it to do the most effective work. You know, hey, if you're waking up in the morning, you need to go outside. If you go outside, maybe do this or that. If you're living there, you need to do these and other things as well, because if you're living in completely different part of the planet, that one habit might not even be useful for you, might be detrimental. So I'm guessing that's where we're going with this as well. If you're doing fasting, you need to understand all other things that need to come in play to help you rather than harm you. Because can there be such thing as too much fasting?
Yeah, there definitely can, right? So, for example, right, if you are a form of malnourishment, right? So, say you're somebody who lives in the northern hemisphere and you're vegan. Fasting, right? Like if you're having health issues, right, for whatever reason, right, and you fast all of a sudden, and it's wintertime, and you've been vegan for a while, that's actually probably going to be hurtful, right? Because your body is not, it's already not taking in some of the nutrients that you need at that time of the year. Fasting at that time of the year, without preparing the body, would definitely be counterproductive, right? Another place I could think that might not be benefit. Well, actually, let's think of it this way: if you're somebody who is in a growth phase of some kind, right? Whether it's a bodybuilding phase or pregnancy, right? You're growing another human being, things of that nature. Fasting probably isn't going to be the thing that you want to really focus on for health outcomes. It would be the quality type of food that you're eating, and is it seasonally matched, and is it diurnally matched, right? Like those play way more important roles, because a lot of people will kind of throw especially in bodybuilding circles where you're eating thousands of calories um trying to grow, and then your appetite gets killed, right? And things of that nature. You kind of mentioned a little bit of scenario where, hey, I missed a meal or two, and you try to catch up, and then your appetite goes to crap. It's fasting is kind of a workaround to fix that, but that's not what's actually fixing it. The real fix is eating the right foods at the right time of the day, and keeping that rolling the whole time, right? The
In that
fast is more
scenario specifically, for me, it would be what I've observed with a lot of people when they eat to try to gain body mass or whatever, and they miss out a couple meals. They try to catch up with whatever they have in reach of their hand, and that's where they mess up their stomach. And next day they wake up, oh, I don't want to eat anything. So maybe there is something also. That's unusually I suggest them, hey, just don't eat for a day. And my guess is, well, my reason for that is that I know that they probably ate something that caused inflammation in their stomach. We want to get rid of that as quick as we can. So can fasting help with inflammation in joints as well?
Yes, I would say so. So um so that would be one of the reasons actually why I employ that hybrid fasting model, is to not cause as much inflammation. So let's kind of take a step back, stop talking about food for a minute, right? We know that mammals have a mammalian adaptation to cause glucose release and insulin release whenever it is blue light stimulated, meaning blue light in the middle of the day, which is the natural circadian setup that allows you to be able to kind of not eat it in the middle of the day if you're working outside, because you're already fueling your body with your own glucose and your own catecholamines throughout that time period. But if you're inside, right, and 8 a.m., you walk into your office building or wherever, right? And you are only blue lit from that moment until you leave work at 5 p.m., then you're probably going to be releasing a lot of glucose all day long. And that's going to lead to insulin resistance eventually, right? Now, can you counteract that? Right. This is where during that time, right, because it's such a long window, right? It's not a 4-hour window where that naturally your body would be exposed to doing that. It's more of an 8 or a 9-hour window where that's going to be happening. You're probably going to cause some inflammation. You're probably going to cause things to happen, especially if you're piling on synthetic foods on top of that, right? So instead of doing that, I employ get your breakfast right, right? Make sure you're eating the right thing for breakfast, not synthetic foods, whole foods, steak and eggs if it's the right time of the year, or, you know, if you're living somewhere a little bit more south, you know, it can be a fruit breakfast with yogurt, you know, whole foods, right? Whole foods, real foods that are going to give you nutrition. And then go into your office and literally fast for the rest of the day. The food that you ate in that morning are already being digested. They're already not causing that much inflammation. And then you don't put any more food in your body for those reasons of your body's probably already going to be fueling itself. You just don't know it because glucose and insulin are going to be spiked while you're indoors. And if glucose and insulin are already spiked, those can potentially cause more inflammation if you keep cramming food into your mouth. So you fast for 6 hours, 8 hours. Then when you get done, you reap the benefits of, hey, you know, 3 hours into my day, I was fueled, right? So you don't have brain fog because you ate breakfast. And then about 3 hours into that day, catecholamines start to be released, right? Because you're starting to get hungry, ghrelins starting to come up a little bit, but you have glucose and insulin that are fueling brain function from the liver, just from the light signaling effect. And then that starts to fuel more productivity because you're also getting catecholamines at the same time. And then at the end of the day, you feel fine, you leave work, you get yourself into a different environment, and you eat a good nutritious dinner, right? Or even 2 meals, right? Like it could be a post-workout of that or a pre-workout at that time. So a smaller whole food meal and then a full-on dinner after working out. Those types of scenarios lend themselves well to not inflaming you while you're probably going to go to an inflammatory event, which is the workout, right? Because inflammation is not always bad. We've had some videos in the past. Inflammation is a signal, right? A signal for the body to do certain things, right? Musculoskeletal inflammation from a workout is telling the body, hey, these tissues need to be repaired, they need to be cleaned up, and then they need to be reinforced, right? But chronic inflammation of your muscle tissues would be bad, right? That's why we have days off. If you just trained all the time, right, like literally 7 days a week, you're not going to be able to survive that all the time. You're just not, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be way too inflamed. You
This,
do
this is
need
the thing. Like I train every single day now, twice a day, but I go outside every hour.
right, right. So you're having an inflammatory response and an anti-inflammatory response, and a
And I
lot of
don't
people
eat
don't understand.
any processed food at all. Everything is home cooked, everything whole foods, only like highest quality food possible. And this is bringing me a question to you is what about people who don't go outside at all through the day? Because
Yeah,
I see it all the time. People wake up at 5 o'clock, they do their cold plunges, they do whatever the hell there is, but they don't go outside. Then they will have breakfast, work in their home office, get in a car, go to office, don't eat all day, have a cup of coffee. Then at night they will have some food, maybe go work out, go straight back home and have a couple pints of beer.
yeah, yeah. That will eventually lead to distress at the gut for sure, right?
Well,
And the reason
I think
is
we
this.
both have observed that that just leads to a lot of unnecessary weight gain,
Mhm.
sexual health problems, and so on and so forth. So, what else is happening there
Yeah,
apart from
yeah.
the
So
obvious
so
obvious
let,
visual?
yeah. So beyond that, let's put it this way: the circadian signaling. So every single cell in your body, every single gene in your body has a clock system in front of it, right? Now, certain clocks control other clocks, right? Master clocks. The master clock of the body is the central climactic nucleus, which is eye dominant, right? But then that's, you know, basically the brain, right? That's controlling the clock system at the brain level. The brain and the skin are connected, right? And the brain, the skin, and the gut are connected. So it's a three-way axis. And it goes like this: the brain, master clock, central climactic nucleus. Then your skin clocks. and then your gut clocks. So if you look at it from a which clock controls which, your skin clocks control your gut clocks. That's what makes you a diurnal creature. You're not supposed to be eating at night or under artificial conditions because your body isn't set up to do that. The thing that tells the internals, the gut system, when food is supposed to be arriving are the clocks on your skin. So if you never go outside, throughout the day, your skin clocks are not able to tell accurately what time it is, and then that by default sets off the gut clocks so that they can't tell what time it is. So they're not prepared for food intake, which leads to inflammation. And another way to think of inflammation is deuterium accumulation, right? Deuterium accumulation leads to fat gain, specifically visceral fat. So that's another metric that you could track through DEXA scans of how well you're doing health-wise, right? If your visceral fat is going up, you're essentially telling me that there is enough inflammation that your body doesn't know what to do with it, and it's storing it inside of visceral fat through the deuterium pathway, because deuterium is hydrogen, right? So it's going to form, it's a building block in all membranes, but it can really cram it into fat. So in other words, if you're accumulating a lot of deuterium, the easiest way for your body to store it and not harm you is through visceral fat accumulation.
And it's so interesting because I literally observed this in the last 2 weeks with somebody I work with, because his workload went through the roof. He decreased his calories just to match, he wants to stay sharp and this and that. His body fat is going down, but his fat on stomach is going up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So visceral fat goes up I almost like to use visceral fat as a indicator for inflammation without having to test any inflammatory markers, because sometimes inflammatory markers don't really show up until it's actually already gone a long time, right? So the visceral fat accumulation, that's a natural response from the body. Like the body is very, very prepared to put on fat at any point in time. And visceral fat versus other types of fat are a leading indicator as to how much inflammatory response is happening. So that is one way to kind of track that, if you will. So
my original response as a person was like, okay, let's see what's changed differently over the last couple of weeks. And yeah, my workload went up and I spent a lot of time in office and I do this and I do that. And I'm like, ooh, we need to slow down. So we just bumped up calories higher and his body fat went down straight away. But yeah,
because there was too many stressors, right? Too many stressors. You already have a lot of stress going on from work. Why give the body another stress of, hey, this person is also now under calories, right? And the response to that is, hey, let's save anything that we can. So if there's inflammation going on and there's more deuterium, let's cram all this deuterium into any type of fat that we can store it in. And the main one is going to be around organs and things of that nature, because that's the reason for that is this. Deuterium accumulation and fat accumulation can happen the fastest where the food meets the bloodstream. That's at the organs, right? You consume your food, right? It goes right to your stomach, and that's where the digestion process is going to be. If you're under stress, that's the fastest way to dissipate stress in that system, right then and there. It's not going to accumulate on your love handles or your chest fat or your back fat. It's going to accumulate around your organs in your organ fat.
What about performance-based benefits or dangers from fasting? Because everyone loves carb loading now and this and that. Is there any place for fasting to improve someone's performance? Let's say playing golf.
Yeah, I would say there probably is, for the same reasons that like if your sport involves a lot of mental acuity, I would say just a small fast or fasting throughout the event is probably beneficial. Fasting from food, right? Not from water or electrolytes. And then I would also say that depending on how you react to the catecholamine response, even fasting for physical performance sports would be somewhat beneficial, because you're going to up the catecholamine response and really perform. Now, this is where, if you know what you're doing, you could actually use some drugs to kind of induce this type of effect, right? So here's an example, not that I'm telling people to do this, but I particularly respond really, really well to the catecholamine response that I get from excitation which I also get from fasting, right? Now, sometimes it's not beneficial for me to fast because I also need to fuel the performance, but you can acutely get the same response if you induce a synthetic fasted level of insulin, right? So, or of glucose, I should say. So using something like insulin before a training session or before a technique learning session or something along those lines will acutely lower your blood glucose. It immediately starts to release catecholamines because your body detects, hey, low blood glucose, let's release catecholamines so the liver can kick in. Ghrelin goes up a little bit, and noradrenaline and adrenaline get kicked up, right? So immediately, just by lowering glucose, you start eliciting this catecholamine response and this ghrelin response. Bodybuilders use this to fuel food, right? To fuel eating and things of that nature. You can also use it to fuel brain activity for a particular training session. And you would get that same benefit from a small fast. This would kind of imply kind of the hybrid fasting model that I said. Hey, you eat 1 or 2 meals earlier in the day if you know that you're going to have a very important training session in the evening. So you get your macronutrients correct to fuel correctly what's going to happen later. But then you have 3-4 hours leading into that event where you don't eat any food, you just hydrate well and get electrolytes in you well, and you're going to have a small catecholamine bump for that time of day. And that's definitely going to fuel. I wouldn't necessarily use it specifically for all training. I would use it for training that's very technique oriented, whether that's sport specific. Let's put it that way, right? Let's just say
And I would
whatever.
probably even add sport specific with a good coach.
Yeah. You would definitely, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because
Hey, I'm going to learn how to log press, and there is no one to teach you how to log press. You're probably not going to benefit much from it.
correct. Yeah, you're going to want to either already be a veteran of whatever you're trying to fine tune, or have expert eyes on you, and it's going to be more of a learning session. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to go heavy if that's what the sport requires, right? That's why I'm saying it can be heavy if that is your sport specific task, but it doesn't have to be. The load is independent. It's more of what do you actually need technique wise. If it's heavy loading, then that's what's going to happen. If it's not heavy loading and it's other stuff, then that's what's going to happen. But it needs to be sport specific under expert eyes, whether that's your own or your coach with you.
And what about negatives of fasting on performance?
Yeah, the negatives can quickly outstrip the positives for anything really long, right? If you're talking slightly over a 24-hour fast, you're probably going to start to notice negatives, especially in a sports performance.
So
right around there,
I'm bringing it up is because I've seen strong men going for like 3, 7, even sometimes week-long fast, and then they go, "Oh, my performance is better and this and that," and I can only kind of align it with fact that strongmen eat like assholes. Anything
yeah,
that
well, that's what I was going to say.
here will improve your performance.
Yeah. If you're eating well already, right? Like if you're eating well already, you don't have any performance deficits. You're digesting food really, really good already. More than a 24-hour fast is probably where you're going to start to see the detriments. Now, on the flip side, which is what you just described, hey, I'm eating 10,000, 12,000 calories of just whatever the heck I can put in my mouth. Yeah, maybe a little bit longer. A 3-day fast, 4-day fast is probably going to be beneficial for the things that we stated earlier in the video, which is you probably have a lot of inflammation going on, and inflammation in the gut leads to poor performance in the brain, right? Brain gut axis connection there. When you have inflammation going on in the gut, your brain is also running subpar. Your brain is what's going to control the electrical system, all the nerves moving, coordination, balance, force production, etc. So if there's a subpar performance there, yeah, and that's where being a good mechanic, right? Being a good mechanic of how the body works will tell you what to do, right? In both of those instances, hey, if you're already running really sharply, more than a 24-hour fast, probably not going to be beneficial. If you're running poorly, more than a 24-hour fast might be beneficial, right? Same, it could even be with the same person. It just means the habits change for that person enough that food consumption went through the roof for whatever reason, right? And now you have excess inflammation. A longer fast might be beneficial for the brain gut axis to kind of clear out inflammation. And now your brain, your nervous system is firing on all cylinders. Yeah, you're probably going to get a performance boost from there.
So now you're tapping into what I would call personalized fasting protocols and stuff like that. Like I mentioned, I'm really kind of for giving person a fasting day if they have messed up their nutritional plan. You know, if they are really high performance athlete and they just did something and they just bought in this concept of just calories matter and they mess something up. Okay, we can just give your body a break. What other instances would you consider to implement fasting? Like you're talking to a person, you're doing your check-in once a week or whatever, and then they tell you something and you think, oh, you know what? I think you need to do this.
Yeah, it would be things that are gut related are the first are when we're starting to talk about, hey, my problems are mainly gut based, right? And it could be all kinds of things, diverticulitis, a lot of diarrhea, you know, the whatever you can think of that would happen with your gut. If the conversation is leading down that path, those are kind of the first things that I start thinking. Okay, where is this person going to benefit the most from fasting? Right? Is this chronic situation where we need to have an extended fast, or is this more of like, hey, every day I get these particular problems at these times of the day? Then we start to talk a little bit about you know, specifically timed fast for that day. And if, you know, for example, this brings up a client that had digestive issues from having demyelination in the stomach, right? So like basically around electromagnetic fields, and the stomach got to the point where the muscles in the stomach didn't contract, had to have surgery to get parts of an intestine moved or removed actually. And after that surgery, he just could not eat food without having just chronic problems. So for him, yeah, every week he fasted for 2 or 3 days because he could only handle 4 days of food, right? Like that's just kind of how it worked out for him until we got him to a better environment, right? Got him to a better environment. He was there for 2 or 3 weeks. Immediately, food consumption could go up because there wasn't as much inflammation going on, and he was starting to myelinate his body. Now, when I mean he got in a better environment, he literally went on vacation for 3 weeks to a sunny place, and the goal was to suntan his stomach as much as possible to counteract the surgery. There's something, and then this also happened with another client of mine with adhesions. Had a surgical procedure. And this is actually common. This is known in the medical field. It's called adhesions. Anytime you have a surgery from below the ribs and down, and above so basically anywhere in your midsection from hip to rib, right? Hip to rib. If you have a surgical procedure there and they open you up at all, they're using lights. They're using lights to see inside of you. Those lights will disturb the melanin inside of those systems, and they can form adhesions. Adhesions are when the body tries to regroup, and now all of a sudden things that used to move smoothly across each other now are stuck, right? And now that can cause stomach pain, and that can cause other kinds of issues in the gut. That seems like you have gut problems, but it's really adhesion problems. And a lot of really strong sunlight can help those. Same thing with this person. She just ended up taking a vacation to a sunny place for 2 or 3 weeks, and those symptoms went away almost immediately. But those are situations where a fast will be able to be diagnostic in nature, right? Hey, is it an actual digestion problem? So both of those people, we used fasts. For the person with the adhesions, the fasts didn't do anything, right? She still had the pain, she still had everything going on because it wasn't a digestion problem, is a muscle problem, an adhesion problem. Whereas for him, it was a digestion problem. Fasts helped him, right? So again, going back to what you said, it's a personalized fasting because for her, we employed a fast, nothing really happened. Then it's like, okay, fasting isn't going to help this person at all because it's not a digestion problem. It's a different type of problem. So you really have to, you know, kind of know what you're doing with those. Not that the fasts were doing any harm to her, but they weren't helping, right? What's the point of continuing to fast if they're not helping?
I think you broke it down really good because there's a lot of kind of almost an obsession with that fasting is answer to any kind of health misalignment, but more or less it just shows you that your habits are not aligned with what you're trying to achieve in a sense of having a high quality of life. So more often than not, people do this fast and they feel better just because they stop eating highly processed foods, and now the fasting is helping them to get rid of inflammation. It also allows them to have the freedom of eat whatever they want, really, because they are still restricting the amount of calories they consume, and if they're doing it correctly, if they actually fast for a long enough period. And more often than not, the benefits that we have seen on internet is like, hey, growth hormone goes up and this and that. People don't even understand what it does.
Right.
And it's just a natural response. You know, you go train really hard, your growth hormone is going to go up. It's just natural response. There is nothing magical about growth hormone increasing after fasting. And understanding that you can do that fasting process in the evening, in the morning, at night, and all those kind of things is probably more beneficial than harmful, because a lot of people will just fast through the day and then eat at night and then go to bed. But you have many times kind of highlighted, hey, if you want to get the best results, you probably need to do it other way around, where you have a really solid breakfast and explaining how it affects your body, and then pair it with daily habits of getting outside, exposing your body, getting correct information from the nature to signal your body what kind of physiological processes need to be happening through the day for you to feel great. And overdone, this can harm you as well.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, it can.
like with anything, there is too much of a good thing.
Yep.
In essence, what we work with, if you are a bodybuilder, you're probably going to implement it very rarely. If you're someone who is a business owner, if you are extremely health conscious, you might practice this way more often, just because of the benefits from it, and not really suffering from performance loss, because let's be honest, there is only so strong you need to be extremely healthy already.
Yeah, you're exactly. That's exactly right. The more you fast, the more physical performance you might lose, right? Depending on what you're trying to do there, that may or may not be a good thing for you, right? But that now comes down to your individuality of what you're trying to accomplish. And that's, that's where personalized fasting comes in. It's what exactly are you trying to accomplish? And do you benefit more from the fast than the detriments? Because there are both. And it just comes down to what exactly are you trying to do with your body and your mind.
Yeah. I think that's a great summary, David. And I would probably touch up on a few other things like insulin sensitivity and all those kind of things, but we can probably make another video about that alone, because I think that's an extremely
well, and that kind of dives in a little bit with what I said, right? If you already have an environmental pressure on insulin sensitivity, fasting during that time period is what you want, right? And essentially think of it how most people should already be fasting, right? Most people are fasted while they sleep, right? But if you are, sleeping with your cell phone next to your head, if you are sleeping with your Wi-Fi router right in the same bedroom, are you actually fasted? More often than not, when you get blood work and you are fasted in the morning, and we see, hey, insulin is sky high, your glucose is at the top of the range, and triglycerides are kind of high as well. You're like, you weren't fasted, even though you were sleeping and you weren't putting food in your mouth. Your body was reacting as if it's being fed. That's an environmental problem, right? So the fasting, the way I view fasting is it is a tool, and it's a very good diagnostic tool. And depending on the diagnostic that I get back, that's how I start getting recommendations of when you should fast or not fast, or, hey, this looks like an environmental problem. Let's look into that.
Yeah. Awesome, David. Thank you for your time as usual, and I'll see you next video.
Awesome. Thank you very much.